Welcome back to Harvest Moon Farm. My name is Mickey, and tonight we're having ham and beans for dinner. I put some beans and some ham that I had in the freezer left over from Thanksgiving in the crock pot this morning, and now I'm going to make some skillet cornbread to go along with that, because you've got to have cornbread with your ham and beans. So the first thing we're going to do is preheat our oven to 400 degrees, and I'm going to put my cast iron skillet in to preheat with the oven. Alright, so we're starting with 2/3 of a cup of butter, and this butter is softened. And to that we're going to add 3/4 of a cup of sugar. And we're just going to cream this together. To this, we're going to add 3 eggs. All right, so we've got our 3 eggs in here. We're going to mix that up. And to this, we're going to add 1 2/3 cup of milk. And then we're going to mix that in as well. And I might not have a big enough bowl here. I'm going to pour this into this other bowl because this is not going to be big enough. Oops, come on. There we go. Alright, so we are going to stir into this 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 1/3 cups of cornmeal, 4 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder, which is the same as 1 tablespoon and then 1 1/2 teaspoons. And 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Alright, so then we're just going to stir this in with our spoon and mix this up really well. Just want to make sure that we get all of our dry ingredients stirred into the wet. So I used all the butter all the non-frozen butter in this recipe. So I've got a frozen hunk out here. Whoa! And so we want about a throw butter all over my counter. We want about a tablespoon. Of course, this is breaking all up because it's frozen. So we're going to take our tablespoon of butter, and my oven is preheated now. So I'm going to dump that butter into my pan. And I'm just going to stir this around so that we make sure that the butter gets all over our skillet, our cast iron. I'm going to try and get a little bit up on the sides of the pan as well. Alright, so now we're going to pour our cornbread mix into our hot buttered skillet. Ooh, and I dripped all over. That's not good. So now we want to cook this for 25 to 30 minutes or until a toothpick in the center comes out clean. So I set that for 25 minutes and then I'll check it and see if it looks like it's close to being done. If not, I'll give it that additional 5 minutes and then we'll check it with a toothpick and make sure that it's done in the center. So while that's cooking, I'm going to go ahead and clean up my mess. Okay, so 25 minutes, this was done. It is beautiful. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this. My husband just got home. So I'm going to go ahead and take a piece out of this pan. I can get it without burning myself. There we go. Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, it's hot. So I've got a little bit of butter out here I'm going to put on the top of this slice. I'll put just a little bit on this piece here. I'm going to give it a taste. Oh my goodness. Alright, so I'm going to give the beans a little taste. See if they need more salt and pepper. No. Maybe a little more pepper, but ooh, these are good too. I haven't had ham and beans, I think probably since college, maybe. Maybe I've had them since then and don't remember, but oh my goodness, so good. All right, so as soon as my husband gets in from watering the animals, we're gonna go ahead and eat our dinner, and I will be back later with the next recipe. Today we are going to start working on dinner. I am making a stuffed chicken breast meal, and let's see. This uses broccoli, peppers, cheese, let's see what else, mayonnaise and sour cream. I think that's everything. And you just chop all those ingredients up, and we're going to mix them up, and we're going to cut a slit in the chicken breast so that it's got a pocket. We're going to have all this filling, we're going to mix it in there, and then we're going to put some breadcrumbs on it and bake it. My broccoli is frozen, so I'm just going to put it in the microwave just for maybe a minute or so, just enough so that it softens enough that I can cut it in smaller pieces, because this won't go into the filling very well. Right, so this is going to give us a chance to use our last pepper that we've got in here, which really needs to be used. So we'll go ahead and start working on that while the broccoli is kind of thawing. I want to cut this in fairly small pieces. It's easier to make the filling fit into the chicken if you cut it up in kind of smaller pieces. So if you guys watched my last video, I cleaned out my freezers and I had a ton of freezer burned zucchini. I took it all out of its bags and I put it in my big 30-quart bowl, which is this gigantic bowl back here, and then I took it out to the chickens and they were so excited. So it's nice to be able to give them something besides just their feed every once in a while. they enjoy it, and it keeps it from just going to waste here. But if you guys have ever grown zucchini, you know that typically zucchini is one of those things that just grows like crazy, and you get to the point where even your neighbors don't want to take it anymore. And I always think I'm going to use it all if I put it in my freezer, and I never get it all used, so that's okay. The chickens enjoyed it, so it didn't go to waste. All right, so my broccoli is softened up a little bit now, so I'm just going to just cut it in smaller pieces. And I only got out 2 pieces of chicken because it's just me and my husband. And so I only wanted to make 2 because we still have some leftovers in the fridge that need to get used up. So I don't want to have too much stuff in our refrigerator. And as it is, I might still be making way too much filling, but I'll just put it around the chicken breast if that's the case. All right, so broccoli and a bell pepper, and you can use any pepper that you want. I used a red pepper because that's what I have, and I just think it looks pretty with the red pepper and the broccoli. Could use a green pepper, a yellow pepper, whatever. The thing that I had forgotten, whoops, was some tomato. So I'm going to take these grape tomatoes and I'm just going to cut them in pretty small pieces, same as I cut everything else. So this is, I found this recipe several years ago, and everybody in my family liked it, so I make it quite a bit. Well, I haven't made it for a while, but I was making it quite a bit, so I don't actually remember where the recipe came from. I've seen it quite a few times in different variations all over the internet, so I will try to find one and link it in the description, and just know that I may do something a little bit different than what might be on the recipe. Alright, so there's our tomato. Okay. And this is where I don't know what the measurements are. I just put stuff in and wing it. So I put in some sour cream. I'm going to squeeze some mayonnaise in here. And then I'm going to put some feta cheese crumbles in. Now I'm just going to stir all of this up. You can add some salt and pepper if you want, or some other sort of seasoning. I usually just season the chicken. Okay. Alright, so our mixture looks kind of like that. I'm going to preheat my oven to 400 degrees. And I'm just going to put a little bit of vegetable spray in the bottom of this dish. So I'm going to put some panko breadcrumbs in my dish here. We're going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. and a little bit of grated Parmesan. And then I'm just going to go ahead and just mix that up a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of, there's a little bit of fat on this. Oh, I got most of it before I froze it, I guess. Okay, now, I'm not sure how this is going to work. This piece is a little bit funky. It's got some, like it ripped right there, so we're just going to do the best we can. So I'm just going to start at one end. And I'm just going to start slicing into, into the chicken breast without cutting all the way through to the other side. So you've got then a little pocket like that. And we'll do the same thing to this one. Okay, and they're not perfect, but they don't need to be. All right, so I'm gonna take my filling and I'm just going to push it inside the little pocket that we made. Just like that. Oops. And then we're just going to roll this in our breadcrumb mixture. And I usually put it in there, kind of roll it around, and then just use my fingers to pour it over the top. And then we're just going to put these in our dish. And I'm going to turn these so that the open sides are facing each other, like that. So I do have some filling left, maybe about a third or maybe close to half. So I'm just going to take my leftover filling and just kind of spoon it in around the chicken. Just trust me, you do not want to waste any of the filling. And then our breadcrumbs that are left, I'm just going to sprinkle over where we added the extra filling. And just kind of over the chicken, so I probably made too much breadcrumbs, but that's all right. Okay. Okay, so here's our dish. I'm going to stick it in the 400-degree oven. It's going to take about 30 minutes to cook. And then I'll just kind of check it, make sure the chicken is done, because with that filling in there, it'll take a little longer sometimes to get done in the middle. So you want to make sure your chicken is done. But generally about 30 minutes is what it takes. So I'm going to put that in now and we'll be back in a half an hour. Oh. Aw. I don't know how well you guys can see that out there, but the sunset is so pretty. It's the most beautiful pink and orange. Gorgeous. Okay, anyway, that wasn't what I was going to do. Our chicken is done. So our chicken is done. And we always have this conundrum. So on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, my husband typically does not get home until about 8 or 8:15. I get off work at 4, and so I always want to wait for him to get home to eat dinner, but sometimes I get way too hungry, like today. So I am going to go ahead and dish my own food up, and then his will stay pretty warm, and then he can warm it up when he gets home. But I'm going to take some of this extra veggie mix that I put in there. And then when he gets home, I'll probably make him a salad or something to go with this. So here's how this looks. Oh, that's much better. So I realized I didn't have one of my lights on. So here is how this looks. So I'm going to go ahead and take a bite of this. That is so good. The veggies with the mayonnaise and sour cream and the cheese, it just tastes really, really good. So I'm gonna go ahead and eat. I'm gonna put my husband's dish back on the stove and cover it so it will stay warm. And I will see you tomorrow for the next recipe. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and make some more pasta sauce today. I've got a bunch of tomatoes that I had canned. I drained a lot of the juice out and I put them in my big roaster pan and I got it going. So now I'm going to start adding my other ingredients. So I'm going to use 2 onions and I'm just going to chop up. I'm going to blend this up later, so I don't need to chop them super fine, but it'll help them cook down if I chop them a little smaller. Ooh, hopefully I don't cry. Get my husband to chop these for me, because he can chop onions without crying. Chop these kind of rough cut here. And I'm going to add them to my roasting pan. And I do have a recipe I'm sort of following. I'm really following the ingredients and not the instructions, because my tomatoes were already canned, so they're already cooked. And so I'm just going to add everything into my roasting pan, and it's just going to cook all day before I do anything else to it. So the onion will definitely get cooked. This recipe also calls for a red bell pepper, but I used the last one that I had when I made the stuffed chicken the other day, so we just won't use any red pepper. I've got plenty of veggies in my freezer for stock, so I'm just gonna put these in my compost. We need about 5 teaspoons of garlic, and I'm just gonna use a big spoon and kind of eyeball it. I like mine kind of garlicky, so I actually found some dehydrated peppers, so I'll go ahead and use those. We want 2 tablespoons of basil, 2 tablespoons of oregano, teaspoon of salt, some black pepper, teaspoon of parsley, 2 bay leaves, just a couple dashes of Worcestershire sauce, and then the last thing we're going to add is a tablespoon of sugar. Woo. That's it. So we're going to stir all of this in with our tomatoes, and we're just going to let it cook. And then once everything is soft, I'll go ahead and use my immersion blender and blend it all up and let it cook down some more, and then I'll strain it if I feel like I need to. And then also I can go ahead and taste it at that time and see what I think about the seasonings, and I can adjust if I feel like I want something extra. Alright, so we're going to let that go for a couple hours, and I'll be back after a while to check in on that, and I'll show you how it looks. Alright, so we're going to give this a little taste test. Okay. It needs something. I think it needs more salt and pepper. And maybe a little more sugar. Alright, let's try this again. That's better. I feel like it still needs something, but I'm gonna let it cook down some more and then give it another taste. So there's the pasta sauce. I've got it just on a pretty low setting so that I don't have to stay right on top of it. I can just stir it periodically, and we're just gonna let that cook down for an hour or so until it's the thickness that I want my sauce to be, and then I'll go ahead and get that canned up. And this I can can in a water bath canner. I had turned my pasta sauce off while we were downstairs organizing, so I turned that back on, and I did add 1 can of tomato paste just to kind of help it thicken up. Do you ever feel like you do dishes and put dishes away and do dishes and put dishes away? We ran our dishwasher twice yesterday. Part of it was because I had an entire load of canning jars. So I've got the heat up a little bit more on my sauce, so I'm having to pay a little bit closer attention to it, but hopefully this will get it thickened up a little faster. Alright, so our pasta sauce is nice and thick now, or at least it's as thick as I would like it. It's cooked down about, a little less than half. So I am going to warm my jars up just a little bit because they're cold and this is obviously hot. This should have about a 1/4 inch of head space. Dripping sauce everywhere. Alright, so I think I should be able to get the last of this in this little jelly jar. Are getting very full over here with all this dirty stuff. All right. Let me get my canner on here and warm it up. Got a sink full of water here so I can get some of this dirty stuff washed up once I get these going.
And I did use a paper towel with some hot water to wipe the rims of all of my jars before I started putting the lids on.
Okay. Alright, so I've got 3, 6, 7.5 pints of pasta sauce. Now I'm going to get my lid on here. This is on high, so once it comes to a boil, then we're going to process these for 40 minutes. And now I'm going to clean up some of this tomato mess that I've made on my counter, and I'll be back in a little bit. Alright, so our pasta sauce has been in the canner for 40 plus minutes. I wasn't paying attention, so it processed at least 40 minutes. So I'm going to take it out now. Well, and then I let it sit with the heat off for 5 minutes. And now I'm going to take these out. And I've got a towel over here where I've got the chicken that I canned. And I'm going to add this over here. I need water all over. Whoops! Oh, I hate it when they fall over. Our little jelly jar. Alright, so I'm not going to use this canner again today. So I'm going to go ahead and dump out the water. Alright, so I just want to say thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. So those jars of pasta sauce I've got labeled. I took the rings off and I've got them now downstairs in my long-term storage. And if you are not currently subscribed, if you would consider subscribing, I would really appreciate it. It really helps me out. And I will see you guys on the next video. Thank you.